Jimmie Johnson put out a release earlier this morning that he is stepping away from full-time competition. He does have a bucket list of big races that he wants to do next year, and of course, details for that will be announced at a later date. But Brandon, I guess we'll start with you. What's your reaction to Jimmie stepping away from the full-time schedule in the IndyCar series at the end of this year? And I say at the end of this year, of course, IndyCar's already wrapped up their season.
Yeah, it's sad at first, but then you take everything into account what's happened this year, and it's understandable that the decision has been made to step away from Chip Ganassi in a full-time stance. I think that's a very wise thing for Jimmie Johnson to do. Another group chat I'm a part of, they said, well, there's going to be no more Jimmie cautions in the year in IndyCar. So I guess that's one thing we'll be without. But really, it was nice to see him take this full leap after retiring from the Cup Series to go to the IndyCar Series and prove that he can, in fact, do almost an entirely different discipline of motorsport. And it really just shows the sheer talent that Jimmie Johnson has as not only a 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, but just a world more of experience behind the wheel. But yeah, the time has come for him to step away. It was a good run, good experiment, but glad to see that he's not completely gone. I know Indy 500 is in the picture, but really want to see him come back to the Daytona 500 or just explore, go do something else. I mean, this is not retirement. It never really was. So keep expanding, keep exploring your roots and see what else he can do. Looking forward to see what JJ does as those gray hairs start to form. I think he's going to still have a lot of fun.
Josh, of course, NASCAR is biggest here in the United States. You're over in the UK, but of course, even people over there like yourself know the name Jimmie Johnson and knew it before he even joined the IndyCar series and know him as a great champion in the world of motorsports. What will you remember most about Jimmie and his career?
I think as well, there's been 2 different careers for him, hasn't it? As we've just been hearing from Brandon as well. The IndyCar career as well, when he hasn't been as successful, but everybody here in Europe as well knows and respects him as well for being the titan of a NASCAR championship crusade he did as well. And he was a feared racer in NASCAR as well. He was aggressive but fair as well. Many people over here in Europe as well akin him to Schumacher's type of racing and Senna as well. He had such a talent as well behind the wheel of a NASCAR. I know there's talk of him coming back to NASCAR as well, because I was reading here as well from the ESPN article as well. They've been saying as well that he's wanting to do the double. So do the Indy 500 and then fly over to Charlotte and do the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day. So that's a possibility. I'm going to love for that as well. Kurt Busch was the last one to do it. And we talked about the double on this show a couple of months back. So I'm liking the idea that he could do it. I know why he stepped away from full-time racing from IndyCar as well. There was a lot of yellows caused by him in the past 2 seasons, but let's not forget he finished in the top 6 at Texas. He led the Indy 500. He was running 3rd as well, then a red flag and then retirement in the last couple of laps as well put a stop to that. But I think he could have won a race in IndyCar as well, and I was disappointed to see he didn't, maybe because the lack of ovals we've now got at IndyCar didn't really give him that much chance to shine, because even in NASCAR days he only ever won 1 race on a road course. So he was great at ovals, and I'm a bit disappointed to see he's not going to be back. But I do know there's been talk that he wants to do Le Mans with the Project 56, doing the double as well. So he's not done yet. We're still going to see him around, but it's a retirement from full-time racing as well. But he's a bit like all of us as well. When we say, "Oh, we're leaving motorsport, we're going to give him a bit of a break," he's going to crop back up in the most unusual situations, probably in Xfinity as well. That's where all Cup drivers end up anyway at some point during the season.
Well, I will say I did hear on the Dale Jr. download, the Ask Jr. segment. Of course, that news broke right before Dale Jr. went live on his channel. He says Jimmie has an open offer to run an Xfinity race next year. Of course, Dale Jr. himself does one of those every year, and I think that's a little bit different when it's a retired driver, coming back, not a full-time Cup competitor. So, it would kind of be cool to see Jimmie. Of course, he's only won 1 Xfinity race in his career. It's kind of hard to believe with how dominant he was in the Cup Series, but he never really did much of the bushwhacking, as they called it back in the day. Drivers racing in Cup, doing both Cup and Xfinity. Casey, I'll pass the same question over to you, and then to follow up on what Josh was mentioning, do you think ovals only schedule might be in the cards for Jimmie? Would he just do the Indy 500 and try to hit some other big races? What do you think his schedule might look like in 2023?
Yeah, obviously one of the biggest interviews that I've ever done. One of the first interviews I ever did was with Jimmie Johnson. Probably one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet, ever. You know, interacting with him and interacting with, you have to surround yourself with good people, and Jimmie has done that. Obviously, a big shout out to my friend, my mentor, one of my mentors, I should say, Amy Stock, of course, his longtime PR rep. Jimmie's still going to be around. I think he will still do the ovals. I think he will still do the IMSA stuff. You know, obviously he's got brands like Carvana and Ally will be with him. So we'll see Jimmie. I would also think he would do the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the Garage 56 entry. I don't know if NASCAR's in the cards. Who knows? NASCAR's got to fix a few things. But we'll go from – that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, well, I think, doing the Daytona 500 would be difficult as an open car. And, of course, it's not like back in the day where Hendrick could just field another car for him because, of course, they've got their full-time 4 chartered entries already. So there might have to be maybe a Project 91 avenue if Jimmie were to come back and do the Daytona 500, although it's been hinted that Elio Castroneves might be in the running for a Daytona 500 seat. That might be the direction that he goes. So there's still a lot of things to fall into place here. We'll see what Jimmie ends up doing in 2023. As for me, I'd echo everything all of you guys said. An absolute legend of the sport, a 7-time Cup champion, 83-time Cup winner, and that only scratches the surface of the legacy that he's left on and off the track. It's unfortunate that he made the move to IndyCar in an era where the schedule is heavily dominated by road and street courses, because I think if he had been in the IRL, say around 2007, 2008, right before reunification when the schedule was predominantly ovals, we certainly could have seen Jimmie running up front. And of course, if he had stayed on the IndyCar path all the way, I think, he might have even been able to pick up the road and street courses over the years as well. So fantastic career. And I'm glad we'll still be able to see him at some point in 2023. But I'm also glad at his age that he's stepping away from full-time competition to be with his family more. I think we can all commend him for that.